There is a silent tax being levied against your wealth right now. And by 2026, it could permanently erase nearly half of your savings value. This isn't a new law. It's a financial mechanism hiding in plain sight, and you need to understand how it works before it's too late. Let's rewind to a pivotal moment that changed everything. On a Sunday evening in 1971, a president addressed the nation and fundamentally altered what your money represents. The link between the US dollar and physical gold was officially severed. But the story really begins years earlier with a quiet invasion happening in a New York vault. This wasn't an invasion of soldiers, but of foreign officials, and they were there to claim what was legally theirs. Nations like France, following a clear-sighted leader's orders, began exchanging their paper dollars for solid gold bars. They were cashing in their chips, pulling billions in precious metal out of American reserves. The vaults were being drained. The global faith in a promise was wavering. They took the metal while the getting was good. The system in place, known as Bretton Woods, was a gentleman's agreement with teeth. It promised that every $35 could be turned in for an ounce of gold. But a problem emerged. The US started creating more dollars than it had gold to cover. The cracks became a chasm in 1968, when a secret international effort to control the gold price spectacularly imploded. Billions in gold reserves were lost in the collapse. The warning signs were flashing red. By 1971, the math was brutal and undeniable. At the current rate of withdrawal, the United States would run out of gold entirely in less than 2 years. The promise could no longer be kept. The so-called temporary suspension became permanent. What was truly revealed in that moment? The old system had a built-in speed limit, a constraint tied to a physical reality. When that constraint was broken from within, the nature of money itself transformed. Your dollar was no longer a claim on a tangible asset. It became a pure fiat currency, a promise whose value is dictated solely by trust and supply. And our government now holds the exclusive keys to that supply. Think about what that means for every single dollar you own today. According to official data, what $1 bought in 1971 now requires over $8. This isn't just price inflation. It's the systematic erosion of your purchasing power. You've lost 88 cents on the dollar over 5 decades. Those French officials in the 1960s grasped a vital truth. When a government can produce unlimited claims on value, every existing claim you hold becomes diluted. They acted on that insight. The critical question is, will you? Now, let's pull back the curtain on the modern engine of this devaluation. The Federal Reserve creates new money with a few keystrokes, entirely electronically. This new currency is used to purchase assets, primarily from a privileged circle of 24 financial institutions. Here's the part that escapes most people. These banks get first access to this freshly created cash. They can acquire assets before the wave of new money ripples out and lifts all prices across the economy. This is the Cantillon Effect in action, an economic reality where proximity to the money printer is the ultimate advantage. Those farther away, the salaried workers. The careful savers watch their financial foundation crumble as their costs rise faster than their income. The legal groundwork for this expanded over decades. A 1980 act opened the door for the Fed to buy more than just government debt. Then, the 2008 crisis triggered the first major episode of quantitative easing, creating trillions in new reserves. You might think reforms would have reined this in, but a close read of the legislation shows the Fed's emergency powers were actually broadened, paving the way for unprecedented actions like buying corporate bonds in 2020. Let's look at the real-world numbers. In late 2008, the Fed initiated a massive purchase of mortgage securities. Primary dealers like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs were the first conduits. The result? Trading revenues for these banks skyrocketed in the following quarters. The new money flowed through them before entering the mainstream. In the next round of easing, the stock market surged 45% while median household income barely budged. Capital was rewarded. Labor was left behind. But the COVID-19 response was on another scale entirely. The Fed's balance sheet exploded, adding over $3 trillion in just 9 months. They announced unlimited asset purchases. For the first time in peacetime, they even bought corporate debt. What was the inevitable consequence? Consumer inflation hit a 40-year high in 2021. Your cost of living, food, fuel, housing jumped dramatically. This pattern is a classic. The 1970s demonstrated it perfectly. After the gold window closed, the money supply exploded. prices raced upward, and the real value of savings was halved. Who profited? Borrowers, especially the government, which paid back its massive debts with vastly cheaper dollars. Who lost? Savers became the system's designated losers. This isn't a uniquely American story. The same mechanism has played out in every hyperinflation in history, from Weimar Germany to Zimbabwe. The central bank monetizes government debt, expanding the currency supply far faster than real economic output. The mathematics are merciless and universal. The only difference is the timeline. Our current situation is a ticking clock. The mechanism is documented in public records. When the Fed creates trillions, that money doesn't vanish. It courses through the privileged channels first, inflates asset bubbles, and finally arrives at your doorstep as higher prices. By the time you see it, the insiders have already positioned themselves. The system is functioning as designed. The only variable is your position within it. So why is a 40% loss a mathematical probability, not just speculation? Our national debt-to-GDP ratio has reached alarming post-war levels. But our global position is far more competitive now. The numbers are stark. Federal interest payments have now eclipsed defense spending. With total debt soaring and interest rates rising, the path is clear. By 2026, interest costs will be crushing. This trajectory is unsustainable without one of three painful choices: outright default, severe austerity, or monetary expansion. History provides the answer. Default destroys a nation's credibility. Austerity triggers political and economic revolt. That leaves the hidden tax of inflation. We've seen this movie before, and we know how it ends. The 1940s offer a direct parallel. With debt at similar heights, the Fed engaged in financial repression, capping rates and allowing inflation to run hot for years. The result? The government inflated away its debt burden, and bondholders silently lost over 30% of their purchasing power. We are following the same blueprint. Federal debt is projected to hit $40 trillion by 2026. We've already suffered over 20% inflation since 2021. With real yields still low, the conditions are set for another major devaluation. An additional 20 to 25% loss by the end of 2026 is the baseline forecast, cumulatively reaching that 40% figure. Understanding who wins and who loses in this scenario is the key to protecting your future. The federal government and those with first access to cheap debt and newly created money will prosper. The losers, once again, will be the savers, the wage earners, those on a fixed income who watch their carefully built security evaporate. The system's design hasn't changed, but your awareness of it has. Now you understand the mechanism. The next move is yours. If this breakdown helped you see the financial landscape clearly, please support this channel, like this video, and follow Winds of Thought for more insights that cut through the noise.